got a great show for you today. Today, we're going to talk about the 7 most effective words to closing a car deal. Over the years that I've been in this industry, I've seen a unique and a lot of different ways to close car deals. And we're going to talk about kind of different ones, and I'm going to give you my answer to this, and I think you're going to like it, and I think you're going to be really, really pleased with it. The most important thing when it comes to closing a car deal is that you've made the proper presentation and demonstration. I think we all can agree with that it's important that the customer buys into the first 3 important steps, which is they fall in love with a car, they've fallen in love with you, and they've fallen in love with the dealership. Those are critical, because if you don't have those 3 things, when you go to ask for the sale, you're going to get stuck with the dreaded objection of, we want to go home and think about it. And that is not what you want to hear. That is the worst thing you can hear, because I don't care how good you are, most of you are going to struggle overcoming that objection. I'm not afraid of objections. Objections are good, okay? Certain objections are buying objections. When a customer says to me, the payment's too high, you're not giving enough for my trade, I like those objections. Those are really, really, really good objections, because those tell me that the customer wants to buy, but certain pieces of criteria have to come together. Now, I've asked you this a number of times, and we're going to have a lot of polls in here today, because I really want to get everybody's opinion. And I want to ask you a poll right now. And that poll is this: should the customer be afraid of the salesperson? I'd like everybody now to punch in their answers real quickly. Okay, great. Okay, this is exactly what I thought was going to happen, okay? So I'm going to share the results with you. So 91% of you said, no, the customer should not be afraid of the salesperson. But I'm going to tell you, you're wrong. The customer should be petrified of you, absolutely petrified of you. Why? Well, because you're a salesperson. Your job is to extract money from them. Your job is to sell them something. And when do you want to sell them something? You want to sell them something today. And how much money do you want to get? As much as humanly possible. Now, is that a bad thing? No, it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. You're giving them something of value. You're giving them a car. So you're not stealing or robbing or deceiving them. You're giving them something. But your job is to get it immediately. Okay? Now, the next question that I want to ask you is this, okay? And that is, why do you think most customers fear the salesperson? Is it because of our industry reputation? Is it, everybody should be able to vote. There you go. Should it be our customers' past history? Excuse me. Or should it be our sales process? What do you all think it is? Okay, so I'm going to cut the poll off here in just a second. Okay, I'm going to end the poll now. Let me share with you results. So 69% of you said it's our industry reputation. 26% of you said it's the customer's past history, and 5% said it's our sales process. And here's the thing. I think you're all right. You're all right. And the customer fears us because of these things. Sure, our industry has a horrible reputation. And listen, folks, we can't solve that. We can't. We could solve it one-on-one with every customer that we're with, based on how we talk and treat and deal with the customer. If a customer's had a bad history in the past, you see, here's what's interesting. I'm so opposite of most of you. If a customer's had a bad experience in the past, I like that customer, because their experience with me will be unique and be different. And to me, that's important. I'm all big on, lowering customers' defensive posture. You all know that I don't believe in trial closes. When I get to the point where I'm going to ask for the sale, which is what we're going to talk about today, I want to make sure that my customer, again, loves the car, loves me, loves the dealership, and has had an experience that we all feel is different and unique. Okay? I want to ask you another question here real quick. And that question is this: how do you remove the customer's fears? Okay? Do you remove the fear of having to buy today? Do you speed up the sales process? Do you slow down the process, or other? So what do you think is the best way to remove the customer's fears? Okay? All right, I'm going to end this in just a second here. I got most of you have told us your answer. Okay, let me end that poll right now, and let me share with you these results. Okay, so 30% of you feel we should remove the fear of having to buy today. Okay, 46% say slow down the process, and 15% of you said other. Well, this one I have an answer for, and I believe you have to remove the fear of buying today. If you remove the fear of having to buy today, you lower the customer's defensive posture. And that's critical, because when you lower their defensive posture, they get sucked up in the process. Now their emotions can take over, and that is critical, especially when you get towards asking for the sale and the negotiation part of the process. So it's important that you do that. Now, how do I do that? When anybody shows any sign of defensiveness, customer walks on the lot and says, hey, I'm just looking. Great. Can I assume that means you don't have to buy a car today? And we know everybody's going to say, no, not today. Again, fantastic. That takes all the pressure off me as a salesperson. I would love to spend some time with you, show you all the cars we have. Let's do this. Let's just consider today an informational gathering event. We'll look at some cars. If you see anything you like, we'll sit in some of them. Before you leave, I'll get you prices, information. You take it home, you think about it, and you compare it with the other cars you're going to look at. So are you leaning more towards a newer used car, a coupe sedan, minivan, utility truck? I like to remove their fears. Once their fears are down, then I can work on finding a car they like, falling in love with me, falling in love with the dealership. So when I do get to that point where I ask for the sale, I'm in a much greater opportunity. Okay, now let's ask, here's another important question, okay? And this question is, what would make a customer lie to us during the sales process, okay? So is it their fear of overpaying for the car? Is it the questions we ask during the entire process? Or is it a fear of buying a car they don't like? So everybody chime in right now what your thoughts are of that. Okay, good, good, good. Okay, we're getting a real mixed bag here. Okay, I'm just gonna give you another second here. Okay, I'm gonna end that poll. Let me share with you the results. So now what you've said is 51%, it's the fear of overpaying for the car. 26%, it's the questions we asked during the sales process, and 23% is the fear of buying a car they don't like. Now, we've done our studies and our homework, and I'm going to tell you, people lie to you because you put them in a position to lie. It's the questions you ask during the entire process. Think about this. If a customer comes in and has a budget of $500 a month, and you ask them, what is your budget? Well, most people are going to tell you $400. And then you're going to show them a $400 car. And then at the end, when you ask for the sale, they're going to say, I want to go home and think about it. Every question you ask a customer, what goes on in their mind is, why does he want to know this? Why is this so important to her? What's their motive? That's why it's important that your questions have to be non-threatening questions. Very controversial. Another topic, another day. I don't believe in trial closes. I think trial closes are the worst things we've ever created. So, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, if we can come together in terms and numbers, will you buy a car today? So, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the best, how would you rank this car? All you're doing is backing people into a corner. You're making them more defensive. They don't know what the right answer is. And if they give you the wrong answer, you get discouraged. And then we show that discouragement on our face and our body posture. And then 10 minutes later, we show that discouragement to our managers, who are now going to pencil the deal. And now they're frustrated. I don't get this. This doesn't make logical sense to me. If you've been with a customer for an hour and a half, don't you think you know if they like the car or not? Don't you think they know if they like you or not? I'm going to be honest with you. If I love the car and I love you and you asked me, so if we can come together in terms of numbers, will you buy a car today? I would tell you no. Why? Because that's the way I'm going to go. And that's the way I think most people are going to go. And the ones that say yes will say yes when you ask for the sale. These trial closes create lies. The questions you ask create lies. And then it makes it harder for you to close your deal, because now the customer's defensives are still high. Think about this. Customer walks in defensive. You do a great job. You lower, 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 lower. And then 10 minutes before you're ready to present numbers, you hit them with a trial close. So if we can come together in terms of numbers, will you buy a car today? Guess what happens to this low posture? It now goes right back up. Now you got the customer coming into your dealership, sitting at your desk like this. I don't want them like this. I want them like this. That's the logical thing to do. Okay, so here's my next, I got another question for you here. Hold on a second. Number 5, okay. So this question is, which of the following do you think helps create an easier closing opportunity? Okay, which step in the process creates a easier closing opportunity? Is it the qualification step, the selection, the demo, the trial closes, your worksheet, the salesperson's closing ability, or none of the above? Which step in the sales process do you think creates the best opportunity to close the deal? Okay. I got a few more coming in here. Okay. Okay, I'm going to end the poll right now. Let's look at the results, and the results are as follows. Well, I'm going to tell you that the leader is the 32% at the demo drive. Okay, then we have the qualification step at 23%. Some of you don't think it's any of those things. We have the selection step at 31%, at 13%, the worksheet at 9%. Well, I'm going to go with the majority. And I believe the steps that creates the easiest closing opportunity is the demo drive. Everything you do in the sales process, the meet and greet, the qualification, the inventory walk, the selection, the internal presentation is all designed to get them to drive the car. The more they drive the car, the longer they drive the car, the more comfortable they feel in the car, the easier it is to close the deal. And that's what we're all trying to get to, is to close the deal. I'm going to tell you this, and I know some of you are going to cringe. You get out there with a customer and they drive this car for 30, 40 minutes and have a great time and enjoy your company. And you're not asking those silly questions like, where's the first place you're going to take your new car on a trip? Who's the first friend you're going to show your new car to? Those are pressure questions. You have a nice, friendly dialogue, just converse. They're going to fall in love with that car, and it's going to make it easier for you to close the deal. Okay, I have another question for you. Okay, here's the next question. And this question is, what is the biggest fear salespeople have when closing? So what is the biggest fear they have when closing? Is it that they will get rejected, they didn't do enough to earn the sale, or they will not know how to respond to their objection? So what do you think is the number one reason, the biggest fear why salespeople have when closing? Okay. I got some quick voting on that one. Okay, I'm going to end this poll in just a second here. Okay, I'm going to end the poll now. Okay, so let's look at our results. So 48% of you said they will not know how to respond to their objection. 42% says they'll get rejected, and a small percentage says they don't do enough to earn the sale. And I can go either way with this. So let's talk about each one. Let's talk first about they'll not know how to respond to their objection. And you know, folks, I always say it the way it is. And I'm the kind of guy, I can dish it out and I can take it. I love it when people want to debate me. And I love it when people disagree with me. There's nothing wrong with a disagreement. You know, I want to hear why you disagree. You might change my thought process. And so here's my comment to you. How could you not be confident in overcoming an objection? How? That's your own fault. That's nobody's fault but your own. Think about this for a second. There's only 3 or 4 objections you get. Price or payment's too high. You're not giving me enough for my trade, and I want to go home and think about it. Sure, there's other little ones, you know, scattered throughout there. How could you not? Let's say there's 5 objections. You would think you would become a master at that objection. Professional football teams spend days, weeks, months practicing one play to use one time. And you're using the skill set every day. So what is the biggest fear salespeople have? Well, you guys are telling me you don't know how to respond to the objection. So learn how to respond. The other part is you say you'll get rejected. You know, I say this in joking way. Well, suck it up, Buttercup, because you know what? You're going to get rejected. Rejection is part of life. It's part of the game we play. If you can't handle the rejection, go drive a bus. Okay, you won't get rejected. You might have kids throwing candy and gum and food at you, but you're not going to get rejected on a regular basis. Learn to accept the rejection. Now, I'll tell you this. The better you are at what you do, the less rejection you're going to get. And the better at what you are at what you do, when you do get rejection, it won't hurt that bad. Because some people, listen to this, have trouble saying no and rejecting people they like. They like. So if during the sales process, I like you, when it comes time to negotiate, I won't reject you as much. And that's really, really important. Okay, let's go on to another topic here. Here's another poll I have for you. Okay, and this question is, what do you believe is the best positioning when asking for the sale? So now you're ready to present your numbers. Where should you be when you present your numbers? Should you be across the desk from somebody? Should you slide over next to somebody? Should it be a round table? Or none of the above? What do you think is the best position for you when you now present the numbers? This is important, okay? Now, as you're doing this, let's talk a little bit about, you know, COVID-19. Obviously, you know, COVID-19 sitting next to the customer is a difficult situation right now, and obviously safety first for everybody. So that's an important thing. Okay, let's end our poll. Let's look at the results, and the results say that most of you feel across the desk, but it's very close, 47 to 43 next to the customer. I'm going to give you pros and cons. I just gave you the con of the COVID-19 with next to somebody. I will also tell you this. I'm not someone, I don't want you getting too close to me. Okay, whether we are COVID or no COVID. Okay, you sliding your chair next to me makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable. Across the desk, believe it or not, creates a barrier, and that's not a good thing either. So it's very important that when you do present your numbers, they appear to be comfortable to you. That's the most important thing. So I can go either way, next to the customer, across the desk. It really doesn't matter, but I was curious on what you're going to say. Okay, now I got another question for you as we're getting closer to what our answers are here. And this question is this: which of the following desking systems do you currently utilize? Okay, are you using a Foursquare? You know, the multiple payments where you give them all these options, circle the one that's best for you, a monthly payment? Do you only like to give cash price, or none of the above? Because everybody has a different system for how they pencil a deal. Okay, everybody does it their own way. There is no right or wrong answer. So please don't misunderstand. I'm going to give you my opinion. There is no right or wrong answer. Okay, I think we got most of you already voted. Let's end the poll. Let me share the results with you. Okay, so most of you overwhelmingly use the multiple payment option. Some of you are using a Foursquare. Some just like to give one monthly payment. A few have none of the above. So the most popular is, we give the customer 3 monthly payments, three down payments across the top, or 4 of them, a couple of turns down the side, and we give them all this information. I'm not opposed to it. I'm not a fan of it, but I'm not opposed. My concern is it's a lot of information you got to digest. Okay, it's a lot. But the thing I dislike the most about this is your close. We're talking about the 7 most effective words to close a deal. The close to that penciling system is to turn the piece of paper around, put your pen down, and say, would you please circle the one that works best for you? And now what you're doing is you're backing me again into a corner. You're making me feel uncomfortable. Now I've got to think about my decision. I got to make multiple decisions right now. Do I want to buy it? Which term do I want? How much down payment do I want? I think that sometimes this creates a lot of, let me go home and think about it. I'm not saying it's wrong. It works. I know it works. Okay, the Foursquare has its pros and cons too. With the Foursquare, you do your Foursquare, you put your down payment, your trade, your retail selling price, your monthly payment. And with that, one of the negatives is that we're locking them into one term and price. We're not giving them options where they could say, oh, well, you know what? I didn't realize a lease was that attractive, or I didn't know this, or I didn't know that. So I was curious how most of you were handling this. Okay, so now I'm going to come to almost my last question here. And this question is this: I now want to know which of the following best describes your closing question. So now when you present numbers, do you do which option works best for you? Circle the option that works best for you. How would you like this card titled? You stay silent. He who speaks first loses, or none of the above. Which is okay, our numbers are coming in. Good. Okay, I'm going to end the poll. Let's share the results and let's see what we got. So what we got is that 38% of you did the which option works best for you. 15% circle the option that works best for you, which is kind of the same. Very few are doing the how the card titled, and some of you are doing the silent he who speaks first loses. Okay, let's talk about this now so we can get to this question. And please excuse me, I just want to allergies today. Again, I said to you, when you ask the he who speaks first loses, I'm sorry, not the he, which option works best for you, you're creating multiple questions somebody has to answer. You're making me think about multiple things, and sometimes it's disrespectful. Again, I'm not saying it's bad. Okay, now, how would you like this card titled? For the 3 of you that said that, I absolutely can tell you right off the bat, I do not like that at all. That is a disrespectful question. It's an assumptive close. I'm okay with assumptives, but it's a disrespectful assumptive close. 12 of you, or a bunch of you said, he who speaks first loses. 26% of you said he who speaks first loses. Well, here's the problem I got with that. You present your numbers and you stay silent and you wait. And now the customer speaks first. They say, well, can we get a photocopy of this? We'll take it home and think it over. Well, now they spoke first, but I lost. That doesn't make sense to me either. So all of this is good information. I want to share with you now a funny story. And I think I've shared this story in the past. I'm actually going to share 2 stories with you. And then I'm going to get to the final point here. A number of years ago, I was up in Philadelphia, and I was at a restaurant called Bahama Breeze. and it was lunchtime. And I was sitting there eating lunch. And I'm a pretty private guy when I'm by myself. So I had my tablet open, I had my earbuds in my ear, and I was watching a movie and eating lunch. And this attractive young lady sat next to me, a lot younger than me. And for some reason, she started talking to me. We had a little bit of conversation, a little dialogue going back and forth. And then another gentleman about her age came and sat on the other side of her. And then they started talking. Okay. And of course, I'm an inquisitive guy. I love to hear what's going on. So I take the earbud out, this one, and I'm listening to the conversation. And I'm thinking to myself, maybe a little hookup here going on. This is really nice. It's cute. And, and she would ask, like they would talk, and then she'd ask a question. Or he would ask her, so what do you like to do for fun? And she says, well, I really love going canoeing and kayaking and surfboarding and all that kind of stuff. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this is a slam dunk. And you know what he says? He says, yeah, I bet that could be hard finding people that want to do that, to do that with. I'm like, are you kidding me? And then, they're talking, and she makes another innuendo about this restaurant she likes going to. And he goes, and I quote, he goes, oh, that's nice. A little expensive, but nice. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. So I finish my meal and I'm leaving. And I get to the doorway and I say to myself, oh, I can't resist. I just can't resist. I'm a nosy buddy. So I walk back and I tap her on the shoulder. And remember, I've already spoken to her. And I asked her, I said, could I ask you a question? And the guy kind of looks at me like strange. And I said, if this guy asks you out on a date, will you go with him? And she looks at him and looks at me, and he stares at me and and she says, yeah, I think I would. And I turned to the guy and I said, dude, will you just ask her? Just ask her. She's going to say yes. And he said, do you mind? And I said, okay. And I turned and I walked away. Now, when I got to my car and started driving away, I'm thinking, I'm the idiot. I should have pulled my business card out, handed it to her and said, hey, my cell phone's on there. I love going kayaking. Give me a call anytime you want. But I didn't. You see, two things occurred here. Number one, this guy was fearful of rejection. He was afraid of getting rejected, so he was afraid to ask. And number two, he didn't know how to ask. He didn't know what to say. He was clueless. Now, I have no idea what happened. So that's story number one. Now I want to share with you story number two. A while ago, I'm single. I'm in the supermarket, pushing my cart, and I saw this attractive young lady at the end of the aisle. So I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to mosey up and say hello to her. So I'm thinking real fast, how am I going to start the conversation? So I pull something off the shelf and I walk up to her and I said, excuse me, I wonder if you could help me. And of course, I'm looking to see if she's wearing a wedding ring or whatever. And I said, my kids are coming over for dinner and they want me to make this. And it was actually what I had pulled off the shelf was Hamburger Helper. I said, they've been dying to have this. How do you make it? And she took the box and she turned it around and she pointed at it and she said, well, there's pictures. You just follow the pictures. Oh, I didn't see. Well, do I need other ingredients? She goes, there's the list. I said, and we started talking. Did you ever make this for your kids? Blah, 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 blah. And we talked for about a minute and a half. Well, I was interested. So I'm not fearful of rejection. What's the worst thing this lady could say to me? She could say no. So I said very politely, this is the important thing, politely. I asked her, I said, hey, I'm not sure if you're single or not, but if you are, would you like to join me for dinner one night? I think we'd have a nice time. And she said, no. And I said, okay, well, thank you very much for helping me. Maybe in the future, if our paths cross again, situation is different, maybe you'd like to join me. I think we'd have a nice time. Good luck. And I walked away. Now, of course, I felt rejected. I'm okay with that. But at least I asked. At least I asked. Now, the story gets better. Because about 3 or 4 aisles down, I turn around one of the aisles, and at the end, I see her turning around the aisle. I'm thinking to myself, oh no, I got to say hello to her again. And now she starts making a beeline right at me. She's coming right at me. And I'm thinking, she's going to say something to me. My heart starts pounding. I start to perspire. She walks up to me and she says, you know what? I've been thinking about it. I'll tell you what, I would like to join you for dinner one night. Let me give you my phone number. Call me in a day or two and we'll connect and we'll have dinner. And we did. And we become friends. So the moral of the story is this. Number one, I wasn't afraid to ask. But there's a second moral to this story. My question was polite. It was respectful. It wasn't rude. And then when she said no to me, I was still respectful. I could have copped an attitude. Absolutely. And later when we went on the date, I asked her, what changed your mind? And she said to me, you were polite when I said no to you. Oh, I said, why would I be rude to you? There's no reason to be rude. And what happens sometimes is when we negotiate, we get rude. We don't do it intentionally. We get disrespectful. We don't do it intentionally. We get discouraged, and it shows. And we don't do it intentionally. But if we keep everything in check, we'll have better results when it comes to asking for the sale and closing the deal. So, with that said, let's get to the 7 most effective words to closing a car deal. And folks, I want you to listen carefully. I want you to write it down, and I want you to digest it. Because if you do, you're going to see it's going to work for you, and it's going to work very, very, very well. You've earned the right to ask for their business. Just ask. Here are the 7 words, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, and here they come. Would you like to buy the car? That's it. This is not rocket science. You get your numbers, you come out, you present your numbers to the customer. I don't care if you do a Foursquare. I don't care if you do multiple options, go through all I don't care what you do. When you're done, just look at them and say, folks, would you like to buy the car? And then shut up. And let me tell you what's going to happen. You're going to be amazed at how people are going to respond to you. You're going to be shocked. Some people are just going to say yes. You know what the funny thing is? Half of you won't know what to say next because you weren't expecting a yes. But if you've done the right job, you've done a great presentation, a great demonstration, they like you, they like the car, they like the dealership, why wouldn't some people say yes? You've earned that right. Now, if you're doing a multiple options and they say, I think we would, then you can say, okay, great. What option were you leaning towards? Okay, be polite. Now, here's the best part of all. In all my years of doing this, I've never had anybody say no. Just no. Would you like to buy the car? No. It's never, ever, ever happened. Now, maybe it will happen to you once. It's never. I'll tell you what people say. They still say no, but they follow it up with something else. So now, would you like to buy the car? They might say, no, I don't feel like you're giving me enough for my trade. Or no, that payment's a little bit more than we wanted to spend. Or no, let me be honest with you. We are looking at your car and we're going tomorrow to look at a different car. We've narrowed it down to 2 cars and that's what we're going to do. And then you can handle your objection. And we can do that in another session. I'll share with you how to handle the objections. But the most important thing is you need to ask for the sale and ask politely. Just like the lady in the supermarket, she said no, and I was polite, and that changed her mind. Remember something, these people are afraid of you. And when you do the opposite of what they expect, it lowers their defenses, and you will be more successful. I would like to ask you now a few more polling questions. This question is real simple. Do you agree that these 7 most effective words to closing a car deal is the right way now to ask for the sale? And I would like you all to tell me your answers. Okay, I'm going to end the poll in just a second here. And I'm going to end the poll right now. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm a very happy person. 98% of you said yes. And that means that you are thinking. And I want you to think. That's what's going to make you more successful. I want you to think. Okay. I got 2 more questions for you. Number 1, we do this every time. What would you like me to talk about next Friday? Would you like me to talk about common mistakes salespeople make part 2? That's a follow-up from last Friday's event. You want to talk about a meet and greet obstacle? Is it okay if we walk around alone? Or would you like to talk about effective service walk techniques? Whatever you guys want. Okay. We're getting some good numbers in here. Oh, it was close for a second. Okay, I'm going to end the poll in just a second. Okay. And the poll says that we are going to do common mistakes part 2. That is what 52% of you have said that you would like to do. Okay. I have one more question, then I will answer all of your questions. And this here is my feedback question. Would you please rank me and tell me how you thought my contact and presentation of this webinar was today. Okay, good. I'm going to end the poll in just a second. Okay. I don't know if I should share this with you. Maybe it's bad. It's not. Thank you all very much. 85% of you thought it was excellent. 13% thought it was fair. I did have 2% that, 13% said it was good and 2% thought it was fair. Okay. I am now going to open it up for questions. You may type in your questions. I will take them one at a time. I will try to get to everybody's questions. We do have a limited amount of time. Excuse me, I got to pull this over a little bit. Okay, I do get this question every single time. Yes, if you are a member, these sessions are recorded. So if you go to your DLA online, there is a tab that you'll see. It says pre-recorded sessions, and you can go back and look at all these pre-recorded webinars that we've done in the past. Okay, question. Okay, should I use the 7 words before or after numbers? I think you should use the 7 words after you present your numbers. Make your best product presentation, make your best presentation of your numbers, and then ask, would you like to buy the car? Because if you ask beforehand, you're opening up the box, and they're going to say, well, how much is it? And then you're back to another question that doesn't make logical sense. Okay, question. What if my manager doesn't buy into this? Oh, that's a difficult one. The best thing to do is to sit down with your manager, go over it. I want you to follow what your managers want you to do. That's the most important thing. If you work for them, they know your environment, they know your dealership. You've got to follow what they ask you to do, and that is very, very important. Okay. If I don't ask what their budget is, I might put them in a car that's too expensive. Okay, that's a good question, because I said earlier, I don't ask people what their budget is. You have a coin toss here, and you got to ask yourself, what's the better of the worst or the worst of the better? Are you better off putting them in a car that's a little bit more, let's say you don't ask. You don't ask. Looking for a new or used, they say new, coupe, sedan, minivan, utility vehicle, truck, and they say sedan. You go out there, you start them with the cheapest sedan, you work them up, and they end up putting them in a car that's out of their price range. Well, my question is this: are people willing to pay more to get what they want to get? And I think yes. I mean, we see this all day long. People come into the dealership that truly have a $400 budget. You bump them to $450, and they come out of F&I at $560. So you can't convey to me differently. The other side of this is you ask for their budget, they lie to you, and now you show them the wrong car, and now they don't buy. Me personally, just my opinion, I would rather take the risk of putting them in a car that's a little bit more than they want to spend, knowing that most people will spend more money. So that's just my opinion. Okay, what's the question to ask after the demo ride, if not asking them if they'd like to drive the car then? Jeff, I don't think I understand your question. What's the question to ask after the demo ride, if not asking them if they'd like to drive the car then? Jeff, you're going to have to rephrase, if not asking them if they'd like to buy the car. Okay, so Jeff's going back to this trial close. If I don't ask them after the demo ride, do they want to buy the car? Well, Jeff, if you've been with them for 30 minutes on a demo ride, you've now been with them for an hour, can't you tell if they like the car or not? You have to ask yourself this question. Once they say no, because that's a reactionary response, you're asking me to buy something now, okay? I don't know the numbers. I don't know the price. I've only been there. Are you going to flip me and get me now to say yes? And here's what's happening. When I say no to you, guess what you do next? You try to overcome that objection on the lot at the car. And you start in with the why. Is it me? Is it the car? You can't say is it the money because you haven't presented the money. And now you're doing is you're pushing me and backing me into a corner where eventually I'm going to lie to you again. And I might say to you, well, you're the first place we've been to. Okay. Let me share something with you. I'm going to ask you all 3 questions. And obviously I don't know how you're going to respond to this. Who in the past, just think about this, has ever lied to their significant others? I'm going to tell you, I have. Sure. Well, absolutely. Who in the past has lied to their significant other and gotten caught? I have. Absolutely. Okay. And here's the 3rd question. Who's lied, gotten caught? You knew you got caught, and then you still defended your stupid lie. I have. And I think most of us have. So you've got to be careful. Once that customer lies to you, they go into defense mode of their lie. Once I tell you, you're the first place we've been to, we want to look at other cars, you've planted that in my mind, that's my lie, that's my defensive stance, I'm not going to buy the car from you. So again, I'm not saying, Jeff, I'm right, you're wrong, I'm right. It's opinions. It's how you and your manager want you to do this. I would never ask a buying question until I presented my numbers. Now, if you wanted to ask something, maybe, does this car meet all the qualifications and expectations you were looking for in your shopping process? I'm okay with a question like that. It's not a buying question, okay? But I would be very, very, very careful of that. If operating in a credit challenge area, would you ask some more qualifying questions before showing vehicles? Maybe. I got to think about that for a second. If there's a problem with credit challenged people, and this is the problem we have. Our instinct is to go and run a credit bureau immediately and to determine what they qualify for. And then we determine they don't have great qualifications, so we tell them they're going to need a cosign, they're going to need more money down, and we send them back to go get that. And they don't return to the dealership. And the reason is simple. We gave them no value or reason to return to the dealership, and we scared them. If I spend the time with the customer on a credit challenged individual, find a car they like and love, then tell them they need this and this, they're more in tune to go get this and this because they want that car. So I think a big mistake a lot of us make is we do ask too many questions on a credit challenged person. Now, if you were handling hundreds and hundreds of credit challenged people every week, yes, I think you would have to narrow it down so you're not wasting a lot of time. But for the most part, I would get some basic information. I would like to know, do they have any money to put down? Did they have a general range they were trying to stay around? And I try to put them in a car that I felt they qualified for the most. But I would be very, very careful about doing that. Okay. What I'm gonna do, because we're getting late, it's already 12:40. There's a lot of questions here. There's just way too many for me to handle. We'd be here for an hour. So what I will do is later on this afternoon, I will email you all back. I've got your email addresses on your questions. I will answer your questions. I will email you back and give you the answers to all those. So thank you all for being with me today. I guess next week, I believe we're going to do common mistakes salespeople make part 2. Got a lot of good answers, got a lot of good thoughts for that as well. I hope everybody is being safe. Hope everybody has fun, sells lots of cars this weekend, and makes lots of money. So with that said, we're going to end today, and I wish you all the best. Take care, everyone.
Thank you for watching my video, and I hope I inspired you. If you enjoyed the content, please like, share, and click the subscribe button. Once you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell so you can receive more content like this every week. And should you have any comments or questions, I'd love to hear them.